The writing section is composed of multiple choice questions and the essay. So starting with the essay, the bad part, you only have 25 minutes to write an essay. The good part, you only have 25 minutes to write the essay. Why is that good and bad?
Because they probably don't expect a great essay if they have to write it.
There you go. Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. So at first it looks a little upsetting that you only have 25 minutes. I mean, when you write for school, you spend a long time on your essays, right? Unless you procrastinate, of course. But you spend a long time, right? You go through and edit. But when you only have 25 minutes, are they expecting the next New York Times bestseller? They're looking for something that flows, has some good vocabulary, throw in a little sentence variety, and boom, you have a good essay, right? So they're not looking for something extraordinary. They're just looking for somebody who can think on their feet, be able to present themselves through writing within 25 minutes. And the best way to do that is through practice. So let's look at a practice prompt. Somebody want to read? I'm going to keep asking this. Somebody besides Jan? Okay, go ahead.
Think carefully about the issue presented in the following excerpt and the assignment below. Traditionally, the term heroism has been applied to those who have braved physical danger to defend a cause or to protect others. But one of the most feared dangers people face is that of disapproval by their family, peers, or community. Sometimes acting courageously requires someone to speak out at the risk of such protection. You should consider those who do so true heroes. Assignment. Should heroes be defined as people who say what they think when we ourselves lack the courage to say it? Plan and write an essay in which you develop your point of view on this issue. Support your position with reasoning and examples taken from your reading, studies, experience, or observations.
Okay, so your essay prompt is always going to come to you this way. They're going to give you a little excerpt that is going to pose a question or present an issue. And then they're going to give you an actual prompt to write on. So, since our actual question is, should heroes be defined as people who say what they think when we ourselves lack the courage to say it? What are two approaches that you can take? Right? You're either going to be in agreement with it or opposed to it. And I'll tell you now, the graders are not going to mind either way. These people get paid based on the number of essays that they grade. So how long do you think they're going to spend? Yeah, they're not going to spend that long, right? They make pretty snap judgments. So the thing is, you're going to have two people grading your essay. Your essay is out of a score of 12. Each person is going to give you a score out of 6. And if the score discrepancy is more than 2, so say that one grader gives you a 6 and says, wow, this is a fantastic essay, and another one gives you 3, is it fair if you get a 9? No. So they're going to send it for regrading to see if they can get 2 scores that match up a little bit more. But that's what it is. So can anybody brainstorm some examples that you could bring up? For one, who's for this question? Who's in agreement that heroism is defined as people who say what they think when we can't say it? Who's in agreement? Anybody?
Yeah. Nope.
Anybody disagree? Okay, so those of you who raise your hand in agreement, just somebody give me one example of why. Somebody that you've heard about in history or somebody in our current day. Anybody? Yes?
Talk about Martin Luther King and his stand against discrimination and use that as a good winner.
Exactly. Essay graders? Okay, paint me a picture of somebody who you think would be grading your essay.
Teacher.
A teacher? Glasses? I think glasses.
Yeah.
A lot of cats, maybe? Possibly. A nice big warm sweater. Cup of coffee next to them. On a mug with cats. Yeah? I mean, these people love historical examples. They eat up historical examples. Because the thing is, if you talk about Lady Gaga or Kesha, half of these people might not know who they are, which is not necessarily a good thing, right? So go with historical examples. Anybody who's against this, can you give me a counterexample for a hero that does not embody this and why you think that? Yes.
I think someone has to, let's say there's a tyrant in rule, and no one wants to speak against it because they might get punished for it. And I think that for someone to take the courage to say it is not really a form of heroism, because it would be just a stupid move on their part, because there's no gain, only loss.
Fair enough. So he could bring up an example of a tyrannical ruler from the past, right? And then pose a situation, right? And say, no, this is silly and foolish, not heroism, right? So that is an absolutely valid approach.
I think heroes are like the people that crashed the plane into the field on 9/11 because they thought it was headed for Washington, D.C. They may have been shy people who were just introverts and stayed inside all their lives, but what they did saved the lives of thousands of people, so that's heroic.
There you go. That's an example that graders would love, right? Everybody knows about those things. So these are all completely valid examples. And what did you see from just 3 different examples? There are so many different approaches to the essay. There's not just one way of doing it. But the best way to prepare is to kind of start brainstorming famous historical examples and things that could work for a lot of different topics. I've personally found it useful getting an SAT book and actually just reading examples of essays that had scored 6s and 5s and everything. And I just read lots and lots of examples to see a pattern that emerged of what type of essays got the highest scores, right? So I found that personally useful, and I recommend it to anybody who'd want to do that. Okay, so another type for the writing section is multiple choice, identifying sentence errors. So somebody want to read this? Go ahead.
The students have discovered that they can address issues more effectively through letter writing, campaigns, and not through public demonstrations. No error.
Okay. A lot of people go for no error a lot. Don't choose no error a lot, because most of the time they will give you a lot of errors. So can anybody tell me which part of sentence doesn't really sound right? Do we have an agreement that it's D? D? How would you fix it? Jenna?
Well, like, on, like, I don't think it's kind of wrong, but like when you do it, instead of saying and not, couldn't you, like, instead of putting and, can you put, like, some sort of, like, other punctuation or something, like comma or semicolon or...
There you go. That's one way of fixing it, right? Okay, when you say more effectively, yeah?
I think it's better because have discovered is, you could just say discovered because I could stand alone. So.
Right, but either way could be right. Have discovered and discovered are both correct, right? But a lot of times it won't respond, or it won't correspond to the students. So sometimes they'll put the students has discovered. Is that correct? No. But that is an example of a place that could have an error. Renee?
For like and not, you could do like rather than or something like through letter writing
Right?
campaign.
Because most of the time when we say more effectively, we say more effectively than, right? But the good thing about multiple choice is you don't have to know why it's right. You just have to know that it sounds wrong, right? And most people are in agreement with the fact that it's D. And D is our answer. A lot of times if you go over grammar rules and just think to yourself how you would phrase it, you can pick out which parts don't sound correct. But really going through grammar rules, you don't necessarily have to know what a dangling modifier is to do well in the writing section. You just have to know that that's not how I would say it. This doesn't sound right. Another one is improving sentences. Can I get another volunteer?